Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Nile, and this is the continuing coverage of the 2016 WNBA playoffs. Round 2 is now in the books. Wow, this is going by so quickly. So for those of you who don't know, the playoffs are now single elimination games, which if you don't know that by now, you just haven't been paying attention. So in round 2, we see the Atlanta Dream going into Chicago and the Phoenix Mercury going into New York to face the Liberty. Now the Liberty, they had a balanced effort. 6 players scoring in double figures. Tanisha Wright led the way with 21 points. Tina Charles, she had a big effort, leading the team in every other category. 1 rebound short of a double-double. Phoenix had 7 total players score in double figures. But 3 of them scored 20 or more points. Taurasi led the way with 30 points. She and Penny each had 4 3-pointers in that game. And Griner, she led the team with 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks. Phoenix ends up claiming yet another road victory and advances to the next round, where they will face the number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx. And then on Sunday, which is actually earlier today, you have the Chicago Sky taking on the Atlanta Dream. Chicago playing without Delle Donne, league MVP last season. There are some doubts about whether or not they'll be able to compete, especially as well as Atlanta played. Atlanta comes into the game and all of their starters are in double figures. Tiffany and McCoughtry combined for 57 points. Angel was 1 assist short of a double-double. Elizabeth Williams was 1 rebound short of a double-double. But Atlanta only had 7 total points from their bench, whereas Chicago, they had a very balanced effort where every single player that played had points. Everybody scored. They had 4 players in double figures. You had Jessica Breland with the double-double, 20 points, 16 rebounds. You had Courtney Vandersloot with the double-double, 21 points to lead the team, and 13 assists. So she accounted for more than half of the team's total offense. You also had just a tremendous effort from Imani Boyette on the defensive side of things. The rookie had 6 blocks in her first ever playoff game. And the Chicago Sky managed to lead the game from wire to wire. It's just a complete dominance as they claimed the victory. And now they move on to the semifinals, where they will place the LA Sparks. Now, in the third round, this is where things get interesting. The first round were both single elimination, and now both of these series will be 5 games each. The full schedule, as it appears now, will be listed down in the description below. And first of all, we'll look at the matchup between the number 1 seed and the number 8 seed, which most of the time you would think that's a pretty lopsided victory, but not so much. One of the things I do love about this playoff format now is that, last year this would have been a first round matchup, and it would have only been 2 or 3 games, and one of these teams would be out already. But now here, we get to see them go at it up to 5 times, and it's between the Mercury and the Lynx, which is always amazing. In recent years, when they play each other in the playoffs, whoever wins this series always goes on to win the championship. And this is no different. Early in the year, these are the 2 teams that before the season started, they were the favorites to win it all. And it's almost very dead even matchup between them. Look at some of the players they have on their roster. You've got 2 centers. Sylvia Fowles was named Defensive Player of the Year this season. It's her 3rd time winning the award. And before that, Brittany had won it 2 times in a row. The 2 of them have combined to win the last 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. So that post-battle is definitely going to be really fun to watch. And then you've also got Diana Taurasi and Maya Moore, 2 legends at UConn who won multiple championships in college. Then they come to the WNBA. They've each got 1 league MVP and 3 finals rings. So, they're almost dead even across the board. One of the biggest differences could easily be the supporting cast. But really what it comes down to, in my personal opinion, is that in the last few years between these matchups, with these 2 teams, home court advantage ended up becoming so crucial to them. With the exception of this year, because during the regular season, the Lynx just completely swept the Mercury. But that happened early in the season before the Mercury figured out their identity. The playoffs is something completely different. But in all the previous years leading up to this, home court advantage almost always ended up being the deciding factor between these two. So for that reason alone, I feel so much more comfortable saying that Minnesota has the advantage. That being said, as Diana Taurasi has proven these past 2 games, the playoffs are where she performs her best. You put her back against the wall, she comes out swinging. I highly doubt that this would be a sweep. I fully expect this to be a 5-game series, and it could easily be like 5 points or less every single game, coming down to those final minutes, the last few possessions. And like I said, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but my money is on Minnesota having just the slightest advantage. Just slight. Very, very little. There is an advantage there, but just a tiny one. And then we go on to the other series with the Los Angeles Sparks and the Chicago Sky. Chicago still without Elena Delle Donne. When is she coming back? I don't know. It seems unlikely that she'll play this series, but it is possible. She'll probably miss at least the first 2 or 3 games, and if they hold on and if they feel like they desperately need her, she might possibly be able to play at the end, though don't bet on it. In the meantime, though, they've proven that they can win without her during the regular season in their first postseason matchup. This is a team that has a lot of talent. Are they a better team with Delle Donne? Of course they are. There is no one that you could say would not perform better with a player like Delle Donne on their roster. But that being said, even without her on the roster, they're still a strong team. They've got a lot of contributors, people who can score. They've got a lot of people who can play great individual defense. They've got a very well-rounded roster. They are very well coached by Pokey Chapman. They were in the finals just a couple of years ago. They're not too far removed from it, even though their roster is a little different. They are still just as strong as a team as they were back then, just with different key players contributing. But on the other side, you've got, you've got a team that still has its MVPs. Candace Parker has 2 of them already. Nneka could potentially win her first this year. So you've got to find a way to contend with that. Not to mention they've got a ton of role players throughout the starting lineup and coming off the bench. LA is definitely been one of the best teams all year long. However, that being said, even though they've dominated most of the year and they did completely sweep the Sky during the regular season, all of those wins came in the first half of the year when they got off to their record start. And then later in the year, they just started dropping off, started losing 3 out of 4 and then 3 in a row and slid out of first place. So, which Sparks are we going to get? Are we going to get the beginning of the year Sparks that looked like they just couldn't lose no matter how hard they tried? Or are we going to get the end of the year Sparks that just kept finding ways to throw away the games? It's hard to tell. Like me personally, I feel like, especially with Ed out, I feel like LA has the overwhelming advantage. That being said, don't completely count the Sky out. They are capable of winning games, but I don't know if they can win a best-of-5 series because you have to get 3 wins against LA. And I don't know if they have the manpower to do that, especially having to go into LA to win on their home court because they have their home field advantage. So it's really up in the air. But me personally, I feel like the Chicago does still have a decent chance. But I 100% expect LA to come out victorious. So that's it for this video. Tune in. So, who knows, sometime next week. Well, maybe not next week, I don't know. It depends on how long these games go for. Are there going to be 2 sweeps? Are they both going to go to 5? Who knows? When these series are both over and the finals matchup has been announced and the schedule is released, then you will see a new episode of this. And until then, this has been the Fan Perspective. I am your host, Nathan Lyle. I hope you're enjoying these playoffs as much as I am. They have been really fun and exciting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing who makes the finals. It's been really great so far. And there's a lot of thunder outside. It's been raining on and off all day. Good news is it dropped the temperature by like 10 degrees, which is fucking awesome.